Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Today, I'd like to look at Zoom. So, this video is going to be just a few tips for presenters, people who want to use Zoom. Now, Zoom has turned out to be a phenomenal little application. We all use it nowadays. We use it for our meetings. We use it even to teach. Some of us have presentations. So it's a very useful little application, and it's a good thing to know how to use. Now, the following couple of tips might help you when you do your presentations. So before we do that, let's first look at PowerPoint. When you use PowerPoint and you want to use it with Zoom, my first suggestion would be to run it in Windows mode. In other words, to run it as a small window. And the reason for that is going to become clear in a few seconds. But let's first look at how to put it into Windows mode. So when you have your PowerPoint presentation, you can run it as a Windows mode when you're drafting. So when you're building a PowerPoint presentation and you're making your slides, you can run it as a window and you can keep it as such. For instance, let me quickly show you. If I have go to my scene desktop here. So you'll notice I've got Zoom here and I've got the application that I'm using to record. And both of them are in Windows. That way I can look at both of them. Now, a useful tip is when you want to do a presentation, usually, and the default setting for PowerPoint is that it will go into full screen mode, so it will fill up the whole screen when you do a presentation. So when you're using Zoom, you would like to avoid that. You would like to make sure that when you do the presentation, you'll be able to see everything on your screen. So here's a quick way of doing that. And when you go to PowerPoint, and let's just quickly look at the UI here, the user interface, you'll notice there's a couple of tabs on the top. You'll have File, Home, Insert, Design, Transitions, Animations, and your Slideshow. So I want you to go to the Slideshow tab. Okay, so you click on the Slideshow tab, and you'll notice there's a button there called Setup Show. So when you click on that button, you'll get a little window. Let me just quickly go to desktop mode, and the little window here will show a couple of things. It will say Show Type, and it says presented by a speaker, and that's the full screen. That's the default setting. That's what you'll normally see. The next one is browsed by an individual window, and this is the one that you want to click. So what's going to happen is, once you've clicked that, if I go and I start my slideshow, it will automatically go into this Windows mode. So I can still see everything on my screen, but the presentation itself is running in this window. And this is going to be useful for when we use Zoom. All right? So the next thing I quickly want to do is, I'd like to quickly go to Zoom. So here we've got the Zoom application. I've opened up my Zoom application. And this is usually the buttons that you'll notice. You'll see there's a new meeting button, there's a join button, the schedule. If you've got meetings coming up, people can actually schedule it for you. If you are giving a presentation, the one that's useful is going to be the share screen button. But for now, I'm going to create a new meeting and I'm going to simulate having a meeting. So I go to new meeting. There we go. So there's my new meeting. So I've got my little Zoom windows running here as well. I could just move it over to the side here. Okay. And the next button I want to press maybe is going to be my share screen. Okay. So when I click on share screen, I can then go to my PowerPoint presentation, and I can click on that, and I share it. So you'll notice that this is actually what's being shared to everyone. The only thing they see is going to be the little video in the corner, right? And they're also going to see my presentation. Right, and so now I can give a presentation, and I can also have my notes on screen. I can have other material on screen. If I need to read my notes, if I have to check my notes, I can do so. I can actually quickly open my Word, have a Word document maybe on the side here. So another really interesting feature that's a little bit hidden is the fact that you can have virtual backgrounds. So for instance, if you go to settings, you'll notice under the settings link, there are a number of different options, obviously. You've got general video, etc. But the one I want you to focus on is your virtual background. If you click on virtual background, you can actually have a background for your presentation. These are obviously images that you can import. So you can have any any one that you choose, right? For instance, this one is quite nice. Now, the really interesting thing, and what I actually enjoy, is the fact that you don't need a green screen. I'm fortunate enough to have a green screen in the back here. But for your presentations, you don't necessarily need that, because Zoom will do its best, or the Zoom algorithm at least, will do its best to create that effect for you. Now, it's not perfect, as you can see that my mic is now disappearing and appearing. That might actually help your presentations as well. So if you want to have a little background in the back, maybe a picture, a poster, or whatever. But this is quite a nice feature that I think I should highlight from Zoom. So if you have a presentation, and you want to have some contrast between what's behind you and yourself, then you can actually use this to great effect. All right, so I think that's it for me for this really short video on Zoom tips. Well, Zoom technical tips, really, rather than presentation tips. Anyways, make some good videos, make some good presentations, and I'll see you with the next video.